Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. We make atmospheric tabletop role-playing game actual plays here on the internet for you, and we're very glad to have you with us here at the end of all things. I am your GM tonight, as I am every Wednesday, pretty much. Hi, how's it going? We're here to play some Symbaroum. I am delighted to be here, and by that I mean absolutely exhausted. I have noticed what on the little wind up there to the title card that if I kind of tilt my head too far to the right, it hurts my forearm. So that's exciting. You too can look forward to this if you are younger than me. If you, I mean, if you get that far, if any of us get that far. But there we go. Typically upbeat beginning here from Telling Tales. Hi, everyone. As usual, I'm glorying in watching my players holding their head in their hands at the bottom of my screen in despair at my lack of ninja-like, audience repartee on Twitch. But hey, that's why you're here, right? You wouldn't be here if you didn't enjoy my horrible awkwardness. So, with that in mind, let's get the old promo out of the way. If you check but down below, you'll find a bunch of links to Twitch, links to YouTube. You're watching this video on one of those wonderful sites. Why not check us out on the other, especially our vast library of actual play videos on YouTube. There's also links to our Patreon, to our Discord, to our social media. Those all do what you might expect. We're currently sort of running 2 streams a week. There's obviously this on Wednesday, which is Symbaroum. I don't know the starting date for when Monday is coming back yet. It's possible one of our players does. We'll find out when they come on, perhaps. But I do know that it's going to be a return to GMing for Johnny, who's going to be running Vason, a system which people have asked him to run for a long time. So we're all very much looking forward to him bringing that to the table. We also run one-shots every month, usually just one, but there have been 2 this month, or there will be 2. One of them most recently was myself running Night of the Hogmen, which should appear on the channel at some point soon over on YouTube. And the other one is also Johnny, who'll be running his space-based Call of Cthulhu setting. And I believe that's happening on Saturday, the 24th of September. So that's not this Saturday, but the Saturday after. We will remind you of that as we get closer to the time. But there we go. That's the promo done. Let's bring on the players and start finding out what happened last week in Symbaroum. And we're going to start as the adventurers were beneath this mysterious ruin in Davokar. We're going to start with good old Chris. Chris plays Steo. Chris was also the main person with his head in his hands at the bottom of the screen earlier when I was doing my excellent, I thought, introduction. Chris, Steo, the curmudgeonly sellsword. How did we pick up last week?
So we had entered into a room with these this wonderful tree and these ancient creatures who had kind of moved towards us, and thanks to, I think, pretty much everyone with any kind of what is going on here kind of skill fluffing their roles, we didn't work out that they were centuries old undead, and we're just kind of like I don't know, Symbaric wavy arms, ancient elves or something. And so we opened diplomacy rather than attacking outright. And this, I think, surprised the lady in charge, who was kind of the kind of maid, the lady of the manor, and this renowned flesh crafter of ancient Symbar. And she seemed to not only speak for the group, but also seemed to be in their movements. She seemed to be the one who was controlling them. But it was clearly her husband Domo, and I believe their children were these ancient husks. And she was kind of surprised that we weren't here to fight, and we actually worked out pretty quickly that their kind of terms were, as long as we don't mess with them personally or their treasure, which we assumed they meant the tree, we could move around freely because nothing else was of any worth to them anymore. We kind of asked maybe for some knowledge sharing, but quite poetically she responded that was just all a moment in time, which I thought was very pretty. And yeah, so they kind of just went and sat beneath the tree, and we were left to explore the rest of the room.
Yeah, one of those rare occasions where finding a horrific monstrous undead in a benighted ruin worked out fine, actually. Just all right. So there we go. Let's bring on our second player. It's Stephen. Stephen plays Alindra, our novice Templar turned sellsword. All of our characters are something turned sellsword, I think.
That's the nature of Symbaroum, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely is. Yeah. So what happened next?
So we had a bit of a look around for other exits from the room. I think vaguely recall that there was one that just kind of turned out to be a cupboard or kind of nothing.
It was. I think it was like a chamber with more of the kind of like weird bones from.
Yeah, that was it.
But I believe
the bone zone.
Yeah, I believe whoever looked at it, which was maybe Askarai, maybe Arendar, kind of fudged their role to figure out what it might signify. So it was just a pile of bones, as far as we know.
Completely boring, empty room. So then we went through the other exit that was the only other place that we could go that we hadn't tried, which was through a set of doors into a very narrow kind of natural rock passageway that we filed down, single file. Alindra at the front with the torch. She had just kind of managed to perceive that the passage opened out into a much wider chamber, and had sort of let the people behind know, stepped into the chamber when she was attacked by something very large and fire-breathing.
Absolutely, a large, obviously ancient and kind of weirdly constructed boar creature that breathed fire at you. And then it's safe to say a fight ensued. And by that, I mean, that was most of the session.
Big old
and
fight.
To give us an idea of that fight a bit more, let's bring on our third player. It's John, who plays Sir Arendar, last scion of Housestar, displaced noble turned sellsword. Yeah, John, why don't you tell us about every die roll?
There were good die rolls. There were quite bad die rolls.
It was the best of die rolls. It was the worst of die rolls.
Alindra was knocked down and given quite a hit, but in true Alindra fashion, jumped up and kept hacking at things. Aaron was also knocked down and then also popped back up. Steo was knocked down and did not pop back up, at least not eventually. Poor Steo was in the death saving rolls.
Yeah, some death saves were made too, I think.
Yeah. I think they were both stable though, so that's something. Clearly, Steo has something of a will to live, despite what Chris says. But between the two, Aaron and Alindra, and some very well placed arrows from Askarai, we managed to down this weird betusked creature, and Aaron ran over to try and find the magic water that Steo still had on his person somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. I think a case can definitely be made that the toughest single opponent that the group has faced.
Oh yeah,
in the entire Symbaroum campaign, I think. I think the only fight I'd compare it with in terms of danger is the battle at the barricades. But that was more dangerous because it was so protracted and there were so many enemies. Whereas this was straight up like, this is a monster that, with some bad luck, could conceivably TPK you. TPK? TPK? Yes.
Yeah.
TPK. My head was going, no, it's TP kill. That's not how abbreviations work.
Yeah,
so
a TPK kill.
A TPK kill, yeah. moving on, because this is slowly becoming more awkward than my actual intro. Let's bring on the final player of our group for the moment. It's Sam, and Sam plays Askarai, Changeling Scout turned Sellsword. So after the battle with the Watcher, which is not a name you know, but it's what they're called in the book, so I want to call them that. What happened next, Sam, before I die?
Well, as we were slowly trying to prevent our party from dying, with a few medical rolls, a few sips of some water of the dusk, I think it was kind of decided that we needed to just double check that there was nothing else in this little bit of the cavern, and also see what, if anything, this very dangerous creature had been guarding. So the least injured of us, which was Askarai and Gandrold, sort of made our way forward, while the more injured kind of patched themselves up a bit and got out of the kind of cavern area, I think, into the passageway. Gandalf and Askarai, I think they went down another little passageway, if I remember right, and kind of emerged into a room at the end where there wasn't too much of note other than two chests just sat there side by side. We opened one and were very disappointed to find just kind of old books that had fallen apart and were no longer really worth much of anything or legible in any way. But very fortunately, the other chests contained a lot of good stuff that we really seems very valuable, seems possibly like it might be useful. We'll have to wait and see. I will say what exactly we found. We found quite a bit of just gold coins, I think, some gems, a tin flask that looked valuable, a kind of metal forearm type thing that looked quite valuable as well, and a large milky gem I have written down.
Yeah, kind of like a white gem threaded through with sort of veins of blood red.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah.
Almost certainly cursed, but what isn't in Davokar?
Yeah,
so
everything's cursed. You might as well embrace it.
Yeah.
So there we go, and that's more or less where we left the session. I think we did say that you retreated up and out to the exterior of the ruins, where I think we worked out it was probably about midday. And you know what? I am more than happy, should we want, unless we want any particular coda to that section of our story, I'm more than happy to say, you spent the afternoon recuperating. Ganderald did the reason that you came here in the first place is so Ganderald could inspect the location for the Passage of Elves. He undertook that, wandering around the surrounds, probably with Askarai for a bit of protection, I would imagine, being Askarai wasn't actually wounded. And you know what, Askarai, while you were walking the perimeter of this large ruined open field in Davokar, you did indeed find what I will call elf sign, in a blatant copying of Frank Herbert, in that you found kind of marks of where there had been a campsite that Ganderald managed to find, despite it being really quite well concealed. You found a number of trails that were obviously quite frequently used by kind of human-sized beings, and you're pretty sure that humans didn't use them. Otherwise, that ruin would have been looted a long time ago. Ganderald was pretty satisfied, all in all, that he'd found a location where elves pass through and maybe make camp every so often on a regular or semi-regular basis, which seemed to you like not that much valuable information, but he seemed very happy with it.
Okay, nice. I'm happy that he's happy.
Absolutely. With that in mind, folks, so I'm going to assume here that you're going to rest up for at least the rest of the day, and then presumably set off north on the path up towards Karvosti, perhaps the next morning. Does that sound agreeable?
Yeah.
I don't know if other people would have wanted to do this, but Astra would have put in a vote for trying to seal up the entrance to the lower kind of cavern that we made by kind of destroying the mechanism, the hidden mechanism. I don't know if other people would want to, but that's what I would suggest.
The trapdoor entrance, yeah.
To the
I'd
caverns
jump on
below.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, like it would be quite difficult to destroy the mechanism of the trapdoor without destroying the trapdoor and therefore leaving it as just an open hole. One thing I would say is that the door that you came through, where you spoke, the word to enter, Ganderald says you can literally just close it, and then someone would also have to pass come up with the answer in order to leave. In order to get through, Ganderald also proposes that if you take the shattered piece of clay with Domo's name on it, then who's ever going to go through there?
Yeah.
Astra will be satisfied that is good enough to stop anyone getting through.
Fair enough. Is there anything else we want to do before we start traveling up north again?
I suppose I will propose that I get a look at all of the injured people in the morning, because we do have some quite seriously injured people.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to give us a series of cunning rolls? I believe one for you, one for Arundar, one for Alindra. Is that everyone who's still injured?
Yeah. And I will I will roll out the old herbal cures for this, assuming I pass the rolls. I think that's how we've rolled it. So let's see. 11 to beat. 9, that's a success. 7, that's a success. And 5, that's a success. I'm going to wish I kept those rolls for later, because that's how random numbers work.
So with the herbal cures, what does that give us as a roll to heal?
Bear in mind, my Medicus is now at level 2. Or Adept. It's now... Is that correct? Yes, 1d8 with a herbal cure.
Lovely. Well then, shall we roll for yourself first?
Yes, and then I propose we let the others roll for themselves, so it's not my fault.
Sounds good.
6 is acceptable.
Nice one. What does that put you up to, out of interest?
9.
Passable.
Out of 13, so that's actually above 50%, so I'm grand.
Yeah. Happy with that? All right.
I'll have a go. I assume I'm just rolling the D8 on Chris's behalf.
Mm-hmm.
That is a 3.
Okay. It could have been worse.
I wish it had been your fault. It might have been better than a 3.
But I'm assuming because Alindra is made of...
She's up to 14 out of 20 toughness.
So I like how you only rolled 3 and you were like, yeah, and it's still higher than Steo's maximum toughness, who is the next most tough character in this group.
There's a reason that Alindra goes at the front.
It's true. Arundar.
Aaron actually has higher maximum toughness than Steo.
Oh, okay.
It's just my pain threshold is lower because of reasons. Oh my god, I rolled a 1.
That's what you get for boasting about your toughness.
There we go. What does that bring you to, Arundar?
I'm a 9 out of 15.
Okay, so no one's crawling along then.
No.
But perhaps the next couple of days' travel up north along the road is slower, let's say, or at least a more measured pace. You're glad you have those 2 donkeys with you, because occasionally probably one of them can be... I'd say that Aaron can maybe ride a donkey for a short distance. And at the very least, it allows you to like not wear your packs every now and then as you sling them onto the donkeys.
Are we, out of interest, are we keeping track of how many herbal cures we have left? I assume Steo is the keeper of those. Cool.
We are down to 5, but I'm the keeper of mine, so if you have your own stock, then...
No. I can't use them.
Okay, then.
It's quite likely that Ganderald has some in his various supplies that he's brought with him, but I'm sure we'll find that out at some point.
I'm now expecting every Symbaroum ruin to be at least as tough as that one. So that's set my expectations for Davocon. Lindra's.
Absolutely. As you start traveling north, Ganderald becomes he's definitely quite happy that he managed to find the elf sign that he did, and he's talking quite freely about this prospective other location that he's taking you to. And we can just have a little conversation about that straight up, I think. He's sort of saying basically, I think this other one, I mean, that one wasn't terribly difficult to find, but I think this other one should be relatively straightforward, maybe especially so since we're in winter. It's some kind of veil cut into the floor of the forest, quite large, according to my source. Unlike the others, this isn't one we found through various tales of treasure hunters over the years. This was information I purchased from a former novice of the Ordo Magica called Ranfalt before my time. I think he left under a cloud, apparently.
If it's that easy to spot, are we expecting it to have been picked clean already?
Well, there is a little bit of a explanation for that. The veil is, well, inaccessible without climbing down a cliff face.
I see.
Oh, God.
But Ranfalt assured me that he knows the best location in which we can make the descent.
I'm beginning to understand.
Not only...
I was going to say, I'm beginning to understand why you may have specifically decided to hire the services of the heroes of the sinkhole.
You do have form in it.
We apparently can abseil, yes.
And I remember tales of yet another large pit you clambered down into for the Ordo Magica.
So this is a descent while we're injured into a pit based on purchased information about Davokar, which, in my experience, is slightly less worthy than actual muck.
Well, Sergeant, a veil, not exactly a pit, more of a hidden valley.
Do you have any information on what is behind this veil? What?
Just to emphasize, because unless we think that it's VEIL, which might be what someone said, it's definitely VALE, as in it's essentially
small valley.
The geographical feature he's describing. Okay. Yeah, it's a small steep valley. He says, well, ruins. What else? Relatively untouched ones, according to Ranfalt.
Is this another set of ruins that could be one of many, or you know specifically what these ruins are?
No, I don't really know anything about this other than this location that's been sold to me. Quite a cheap price, it has to be said.
And
what was this cloud that Ranfelt left under? Did he manage to offend someone powerful?
I don't really know. I think his master fell out of favor and he left with her.
North or south?
To the forest. And then no one heard of him for years, and he came to town looking hale and hearty a number of years later.
Oh boy, this is setting off all kinds of warning signals in my age-addled and wise old brain.
Yes, well, the thought had occurred to me, which is why you're here.
So we're all in agreement that we are definitely doomed and that we're going to do this anyway.
I think that was our logic as soon as we left Thistlehold, wasn't it?
Have you've heard my saying, Elinda, there's two things that comes out of Davokar: money and problems.
I can believe that.
You've already picked up the money.
I've picked up the problems.
Well, I'm sure it will be perfectly manageable for such an esteemed group of heroes. and their modest scribe.
I don't know. I saw your fighting stance, Gandrod. I think you've been holding out on us.
Not holding out. I've had some training, but nothing I'd want to throw myself against a monstrous creature about.
Very sensible.
I fear one of those tusks would have gored me in half.
That's why we get to keep the treasure, right? So that you get to stand at the back.
Well, quite.
It's a simple to understand arrangement. I'll give it that.
Well, maybe one day when I've had further training from Gonkai and actually have some mysticism to bring to bear.
How, if you don't mind me prying, Ganderald, how late into a mystic's studies does one usually learn mysticism?
A number of years. A relatively low number, I suppose. I have only been an adept at the Order Magica for 2 years. I was promoted ahead of novice due to my other skills and knowledges. Mysticism, to a certain degree, eludes my grasp so far. I have knowledge of some rituals, but, well, don't expect me to be flinging brimstone from my fingers anytime soon.
For some reason, I always thought something like that was a prerequisite for entry, but...
Not if you prove yourself useful and committed and knowledgeable. Ordo Magica prides itself on primarily being a fountain of knowledge more than it is of magic and spells.
Yeah,
It's a very good philosophy.
My experience of the Ordo Magica is that they're certainly more likely to wheel a library card than a fireball.
Ganderald nods, and the travel continues northwards. And I think we're going to have a little encounter along the road, folks. And I think we should perhaps all roll vigilant to see who spots this encounter first.
I fail.
Obviously a yes from Ascarai. How could it not be? Nope. Well, that's good. The Ascarai did roll successfully then. Ascarai, let's say that you are sort of pushing to the front of the group, as you are frequently do, and sort of taking point as you travel to the north. And you notice, well, you hear before you see a number of voices over to the west of the road, quite calm, kind of chattering voices. And as you walk, you kind of creep a bit more slowly. You discern they seem to be human, in fact, speaking Ambrian. And as you walk only a little bit further to the north, you see a very rough path that looks like some wagons have been brought off the road to a clearing just within about 30 feet of the road. You see a number of individuals, wagons, horses gathered up there in what seems to be perhaps an impromptu camp of some kind. There seem to be kind of several fires where people are cooking. You also see that people tend to be wearing quite different clothing. You would guess there are multiple traveling parties here, kind of who've come across this camp and are taking the opportunity to rest and talk and perhaps trade.
Okay, I think probably my first reaction would be to, am I next to the rest of the group, or am I a little bit?
You're a little bit ahead of them. You're just about out of sight.
I'd probably kind of hang back a bit and wait for the group to catch up, and as once they arrive, just let them know. Seems to be some kind of camp set up here. They're not hiding where they are. I imagine they're friendly. If we wanted to stop and see what's going on, maybe get some news.
maybe traders, if we need more herbal cures, or even other healers.
Yeah. Probably
Seems
worth
right.
stopping by.
There's also a good chance they're bandits. So if you do want to go in there, let's not mention the fact we are coming from a site.
That's
Very
reasonable.
true.
Ganderal kind of nods and says, very clever.
I'll make sure there's no sign of our loot anywhere visible before.
Yeah, it's all kind of modestly sized enough, at least, that it can be tucked away very much in your packs. Who is going to be the one to kind of walk down the trail and make greetings? Or all of you together?
I suggest sending a human.
Let's immediately look to Arendar.
I will happily stride off.
Absolutely. Very soon after you kind of start walking down, you see that people notice you. There's kind of a particularly large covered wagon over to the left-hand side as you're striding towards it, and there are a couple of quite well-armored and armed guards there who definitely kind of notice you approaching first. They stand... They were kind of like slumped over to one side chatting, and they don't look threateningly at you or do anything, but they both definitely kind of like stand up to a full kind of imposing position and just rest their hands very lightly on the pommels of their large longsword blades. And as you approach, a few other people kind of look around curiously at you kind of approaching. You see some people kind of cooking some game who were kind of looking over. A man stood near that covered wagon who looks very much like a merchant from all the quite expensive looking rings on his fingers and a large sort of hefty fur coat that he's wearing. There are any number of people here. You would say that there's probably about 30-ish people here in this camp. And if you give me a cunning roll, I'll let you estimate how many different parties of travelers there may be.
Oh, I just fail if it's a flat cunning.
You don't know. I'll give you straight up for free that more than one, right? There definitely look to be different groups of individuals here. You do also notice that a lot of the grass and vegetation nearby has been hacked down, and not all recently. So clearly, this is maybe a kind of budding regular camp along this trail. You don't know whether that's for years or just kind of after like the worst of winter has passed.
Okay. Is there anyone who, like, obviously people look as they approach, but is there anyone who looks like they're waiting to... Anyone who's waiting to be approached, if that makes sense?
No, definitely not. Like there doesn't seem to be any kind of leader or anything here. No.
Then I give Farron the order to stay by my side and be good. And I think I'll approach the nearest fire pit and the people there.
Sure, absolutely. It's the fire pit with the kind of merchant standing there. He's sharing some kind of exchange with someone who looks like maybe someone of the clans traveling, but quite a prosperous individual. And as you approach, you hear them talking about they're talking trade, and they're talking about furs and various interruptions in the kind of fur trade. And as you approach, the Ambrian kind of turns to you and sort of takes in your sort of slightly bedraggled noble appearance and says, "Oh, welcome, fellow traveler. I am Arrow of Thistlehold."
I'm Arendar, also, well, originally of Indaros, but Thistlehold most recently.
It's good to make your acquaintance. You're not wandering these forest paths alone, are you?
No, I wanted to check that this was an open camp and I wasn't intruding on anyone before my friends arrived.
Oh, yes. There are several groups here. My barbarian friend here and his companions, and a couple of the traveling fortune seekers, some hunters, There was some Queen's Patrol here a couple of days ago, but they seem to have moved on.
And what on earth are you doing here?
No,
This doesn't
resting,
seem
trading. It's as safe a spot as any in Davokar, and it's good to rest before the push on to, well, let us be honest, either Carvosti or Thistlehold, eh?
I just hadn't expected to see such an established camp.
Well, it'll do for a few days. It's a good opportunity to sell wares to some of the more desperate and ill-equipped individuals who come by.
I can imagine.
I wouldn't include that yourself, of course. Your sword, your mighty beast mark you out as a fearsome treasure seeker. And I have special wares for those who have a little extra coin to spend.
I don't suppose you have herbal cures among that, do you?
Of course, of course. You don't have any traveling wounded, do you?
Some small injuries.
From the road and such. Well, bring them across. I have herbal cures to spare. Well, for pay.
I'll step back into view of the group and beckon them down.
Sure. I'm assuming everyone's going to follow suit to the campsite.
Yep.
I think I'll try and give the guards a kind of a knowing nod on the way in, like to like.
They give you a nod back, and you know what? You actually recognize one of them as a former guard from Thistlehold. He's kind of like eyes widen a little bit, and as he sees you, and he sort of, as it, by habit, kind of sketches a quick salute to you. He was a bit of a troublemaker, but he knew his way around a blade.
Kind of chuckle a little bit in return. But we will head into the camp.
He kind of leans over and whispers something into the ear of Arrow, who sort of goes, "What? I had no idea. That's Sadar. Sadar, yes?
Yes.
A hero of the sinkhole.
So they call us.
Well, this is... If you are traveling incognito, your secret is safe with me." He did say it quite loud. And a special discount, yes, a special discount. In fact, some herbal cures for free, yes, for free. And I trust when we are next in Thistlehold together, perhaps I can tempt you with some of my more pricey goods that I keep in special storage.
That is very kind of you, Arrow.
Of course, of course. Get the hero some cures. One of the guards sort of nods, looking a little bit cynical about this entire thing, leans into the caravan. And you know what, Arindar, why don't you roll I'm feeling generous, D6 plus 2.
Ooh.
You could take that many herbal cures.
4, so 6.
A little bundle of 6 herbal cures, which Arrow gladly passes you for free. Again,
this is very generous.
Oh, not at all, not at all. You saved my town, Sir Arindar. You get the impression this is definitely going to be an anecdote.
Good.
So are we maybe circling the donkeys and setting up a little rest spot of our own, or are we just sort of hanging out here for a couple of hours and then moving on?
What time of day is it?
Well, let's say it's mid-afternoon, so it's not completely untoward at the idea of staying here for the night.
How far is the Vale? I will ask Ganderald.
I'm not entirely sure, but I think there is certainly a chance we could reach it tomorrow.
If we stopped, or if we...
Either.
Then why not stay here and we can rest and get going early in the morning. What I don't want to do is arrive at the Vale at night time. If we can avoid that.
No, but I only have a rough idea of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, of
There are a
course.
number of large rocks by the side of the road, apparently, that I need to keep an eye out for. If we stay here, at the very least, more fires means it'll be less cold of a night. And frankly, well, I think you three could use that.
After the last few days, something that even bears a passing resemblance to civilization feels like a luxury.
Yeah, and I think you've probably been traveling for 2 days since the last ruin, in which case all of you can regain 2 toughness.
Cool.
For the
I will
evening's passing.
stand up stiffly and say, "Don't. Fires are good, but it'll be draw more enemies as well." And I'm going to, on that kind of doomsaying note, I'm going to go and see. You mentioned someone was cooking up some venison. I'm going to go and see if I can A, buy some, B, maybe try and get a little bit of gossip out of them by the medium of small talk.
Absolutely. So you go off and do that. Shall we have what everyone is doing here, and then we'll do a little rotation of those actions. So Stephen, is there anything in particular Elindra is doing?
I think Elindra will, having established camp in this clearing, will go and look a little bit further up the path and perhaps just do a big wide circle around the camp.
Perimeter, just to be a bit more safe. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How about you, Ascarai? Oh, you're on mute, Sam.
If Stio and Elindra are heading off, I don't know what Aaron Dow is doing, but I think I would probably stay with our stuff because we've got some valuable stuff. I would try to, as we make camp, I'm assuming we would probably unload the donkeys. So I'd probably look to just put our stuff in as a protected and hidden place as possible amongst our camp, and just keep our valuable goods generally safe.
I assume we have tents and things that we can set up as like storage.
Yeah, you definitely don't have tents as such, but you certainly have like sheets of fabric that you can pin to make, shelter. And you can actually do this. You see that a couple of other people have done this from one of there seems to be a large old wagon there that it only occurs to you as you get near it. It looks actually to be abandoned there. Like a couple of the wheels are cracked. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere without serious repair, but a lot of people have used it as a bit of architecture, essentially, to fix like coverings over to nearby trees and stuff. And you can definitely do that. And if you want a safe place to put your belongings as well, you can tuck them just underneath the side of the wagon, kind of around where you're sleeping, around where your campfire is. No one will be able to drag them out from there without making serious noise.
Okay, perfect.
How about you, John?
I might possibly just wander around the camp, also making some Manta small talk.
Sure, absolutely. That sounds good. Okay, well, with that in mind, I will roll a die. I'm not entirely sure we have to cover Ascarai stuff. I feel like you're doing the camping admin. So I think we're safe to have Ascarai in the background setting things up and being the practical one. But let's go with Stio first. Stio, you approach the people cooking around the fire. They say they are just hunters, traveling the trail, picking up game. They do have a horse nearby that has several large animals strapped over the back of it. The horse looks somewhat unimpressed with this, but it's a very large draft horse, so neither is it particularly objecting. They are cooking indeed, kind of a small amount of deer, but also some rabbits. Other people seem to be gathered around, like handing over a little bit of coin in return for food. And it has to be said, smell quite good. The one doing the cooking is sprinkling on the occasional small handful of salt and herbs. So it's by no means plain either. They are charging, just so, because I know we like to keep a handle on our cash. They are charging, let's say, 2 Ortegs a piece for a bowl of sort of meat and some stew.
Kind of take out a thaler and go, do you reckon we can feed 5?
Oh, for sure, friend. They take your thaler
How long
gladly.
have you been camped? I'll hand over the coin and kind of, don't know. We will have kind of our own cutlery and stuff, so I'll probably just bring out a little tray of bowls and stuff or something. So,
I mean,
maybe
in
not
all
a tray,
honesty,
but definitely bowls.
In all honesty, on the trail, you probably don't use cutlery. Although, if you have if you have a dagger or a knife, which most of you will do, that can suffice for these things.
Yeah.
They pass over these bowls of quite rich and pleasant smelling stew and meat. And one of them says, "Oh, we've been in this camp for maybe a week. Lots of people coming through, stopping.
It's almost a time.
Some other merchant who was here a few days ago was talking about coming back and setting something proper up."
Yeah, I was going to say, put some walls around it. Call it Thistlehold 2.
Yeah.
Any
I heard
news
tell
from...
there was definitely some place out east that tried that last year and ended up bad, but you got to keep trying.
Oh, that rings a bell. I think
Definitely
I was there.
does. You were there.
I think I was there. Any news from the trouble with the Northerners and the Odav? Wasn't there supposed to be a new queen or something?
I don't know about a new Huldra. Hadn't heard of that.
Yeah,
the old one's still going, I think.
I thought there was some insurrection or something in was it the Courage, perhaps?
I don't know about that, friend. I try to steer clear of the clans myself a bit.
You're right, honestly.
You never know how they'll react.
It's a better idea to stay out of politics altogether, but sometimes it has a habit of finding you.
It's these Odavs and Sareks, they're all right, but I don't know. I don't speak the tongue.
Me neither. Thanks for the grub.
You're welcome. Come back for more if you want.
I might do, given the smell of it.
And I take it we're kind of piling up those bowls and carrying them over to...
dropping them off by Ascarai with a massive smile on my face.
Absolutely. So next, let's go to Stephen. So Alindra is kind of walking the perimeter and trying to see what she can see. Do you want to just give me a vigilant check? I think that's...
Sure. Vigilant 10. We roll a 5.
Yeah. You find nothing concerning at all. There are a lot of wagon tracks here, a lot of horse tracks. It all speaks to like what you've heard, that lots of people are coming and going through here at the moment. You would say some of the trees nearby have been cut down as well. And that has definitely been happening for at least a couple of years by the look of those tree stumps. So yeah, it seems to be a budding little regular campsite. You don't see any like sort of suspicious human tracks on the edge of it or beast tracks or anything like that. It seems to be above board, seems to be relatively safe.
It's on its way towards becoming a settlement, and nobody in the immediate vicinity seems to mind.
No. I mean, you are well aware, obviously, Davakar is Davakar, but also the road between Carvosti and Thistlehold is pretty well travelled, and kept safe by both the High Chieftains, Wrathguard, and the Queen's Rangers. So,
yeah, cool. Well, having done a big lap, I guess I'll return to the camp and discover that there is food.
Absolutely, and the three of you can chow down on that. Arindar, you are kind of taking a look around the camp, trying to locate some small talk, when a vaguely familiar voice, a woman's voice in somewhat accented Zarek, speaks from us over nearby you and says, Arindar.
Aaron will remember her name. John does not.
That's fine. Arindar turns to see a woman in early middle age with long graying brown hair She's dressed in loose and flowing soft cottons and silks. One side of her head is shaved with 3 different lines of coloured paint applied to the stubbled skin over her ear. It is the Zarek Scout Elmea. And if you want to know more about Elmea, folks, go watch our spin-off Symbaroum series, Fetters of Stone.
Elmea, I'm glad to see you're well.
She nods. She's kind of sat up on one of the tied-up wagons, kind of carving something, maybe some kind of wind instrument out with a small knife. And she says, "And you made it back to Thistlehold then?"
Yes. And I've had an interesting time since.
Interesting times follow those such as us, Arendar.
And
Are you still under the pay of the Kohinoor?
no, that seems to have been a single opportunity.
Maybe that is for the best.
Perhaps.
What brings you here?
A similar task. Escorting a patron from Thistlehold to places in the forest, all the way to Karvosti.
Treasures?
Not specifically.
Ancient magics?
Scholarly interest.
Forbidden prisons?
Nothing quite so dramatic so far.
Good.
And how about yourself? How do you fare?
The prison was a lesson to me. I do not go that deep into Davakar anymore. I am a guide for merchants, for the mildest of travelers, taking only the safest roads. There is nothing to be found deeper other than death.
Have you... I've heard that strange things have been happening among the barbarians, Elmea.
The barbarians? Any particular
sorry.
barbarians, Arendar?
Something about a war, an uprising.
Oh, that. Can you roll persuasive, please?
Pass.
There have been talks of the Ambrian separation. The chieftain no longer commands the respect he once did. There are clans to the north, to the west, the Gawia, the Sarkhan. The rumor has it they have chosen another. A woman, maybe a witch, She had other names. They called her Green Woman, someone's daughter, but the words I hear, she has become something else now.
Corruption?
I don't know. Enough to break open bonds that were already shattered. But the Odavs will do what they have always done. Trade, try and become Ambrians themselves. Zarek, you are friends. You are friends to the Zarek. You killed the clan that we were at war with for decades, for centuries. Others, they don't look kindly on the chieftains' friendships.
I see.
It will pass. It always passes. Maybe we get a new chieftain. Maybe we don't. Maybe the clans go to war. Maybe they don't. I doubt you will see much of it in Thistlehold.
Well, I hope that whatever happens, that no harm comes to you from it.
I thank you. And to you, I assure you I will be quite safe, leading merchants by the nose for coin.
I hope our paths meet again.
I'm sure they will. As you turn away from here, you hear a kind of light, fluttering whistle as her carved little flute is put to good use. Cameos. So you return to the fire, and Steo has bought everyone dinner, which is rather nice of him.
Wonderful. Thank you, Steo.
No problem. You never know when your last cooked meal is going to be in this place.
You're endlessly cheerful, aren't you, Steo?
Under these branches, I am precisely far too cheerful.
Then I may need to recalibrate.
Can I offer you some venison stew in these trying times? That's the second reference to the exact same Always Sunny in Philadelphia joke this week on Telling Tales.
I think the first one only happened backstage, though.
Did it? I thought we said that
Yeah.
on the one shot on Saturday. Maybe not.
I will fish out a couple of venison cubes for Farron.
He wolfs them down so fast you kind of doubt you ever gave them to him.
So we're fed. We have a place to rest for tonight. The local area seems secure. This place looks like it's well on the way to becoming a settlement. And that set off your danger sense in exactly the way I expected it to, Steo.
Good. You might learn something. Specifically, the one skill we all need to learn is how to stay alive, and I'm definitely posting watches tonight.
We need watches, partly to protect ourselves from other people here, partly to protect all of us from people who may not like a new settlement springing up in Davakan.
I forget his name, but one of the guards used to be under me on the city watch. I'll go and See if I can get some information off him later.
Yeah. I mean, we should be safe enough, but still a watch is always a good idea.
And as the evening progresses, you see that despite the informal friendliness of the camp, all the other traveling groups have exactly the same notion. Because as you set a watch and various of you stay awake through the night, you see that the other campfires, are either maintained or stirred into kind of like embers, and other people are doing exactly the same. Not that any of the others you know Elmea, but you certainly see her, for example, keeping a watch through the night for her traveling band. Arindar, did you before you all went to sleep, or some of you went to sleep? Did you share any of that information?
Yes, I will probably, as we're munching over the stew, share that I talked with an old friend and pass on. I think a lot of it is kind of what we've heard before, but
yeah, I don't think we had specific mentions of the clans involved
No.
before, other than their vague directions. Ascarai, I'm perfectly happy with you having a cunning roll to see if you know anything about these barbarian clans.
Okay. Yep, I rolled a 3.
Yeah, so the Gawia are to the very north of Davokar, kind of very deep into Symbaroum. The Sarkhan are more to the plains to the west. Both of them have a very bad reputation for dealing with Ambrians, particularly the Sarkhan, who, let's say that Ambrian envoys to them have not returned. They are hostile, bordering on actually dangerous, and they're not much better with a lot of other barbarian clans either. Yeah,
it's been a long time since I've had any interaction with either of those tribes, but I remember when I was younger, they were feared more than other tribes, just for their violence. Less likely to talk, more likely to fight and to kill. I would worry if some new chieftain came into place because of those tribes. It would bode poorly for, I think, everybody. But hopefully that won't come to pass.
How does this work, the chieftain process? Like, if they've fallen in with some kind of witch, like, I don't know what that means for clan politics or for Karvosti, or
give me another cunning roll, Ascarai, because we haven't got any actual folk of the clans here, so I want to see what Ascarai might or might not know.
that's Elindra's literally just assuming that everybody knows this stuff, and
Yeah.
isn't Ascarai technically a folk of the clans? Like, wasn't he raised?
Sure, but he's lived most of his life outside of them.
That's true.
I rolled a 4, so I did make it.
So high chieftains who have their seat at Karvosti, alongside the Huldra, who is the chief witch, essentially, they are nominated and negotiated by supposedly all the barbarian clans together in concert. In practice, it's mostly considered to be part politics, partly the Huldra's choice, and partly whoever can come out on top in trade, war, any number of other factors. You are not too obviously you grew up there, but you're not overly involved with the details of a lot of these things, especially kind of more recently. But you do know. Here's something I'll give you. He said, trying to open the appropriate PDF to find the name, because we haven't had to use it yet because we haven't got to Karvosti. The current High Chieftain is called... oh my god, come on.
I think I have it written down as Tharaban.
It is indeed Tharaban. You are absolutely right. It is Tharaban. Yes. Yeah. The elections are typically kind of like quite an orderly affair. It's not like something where there's filled with bloodshed or anything. But it's definitely a thing where there is a lot of politics at play. How old are you, Ascarai?
I think now I'm 33 or 4.
All right. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you think that the High Chieftain Tharaban was crowned maybe when you were about 16 or so?
Okay.
So after you'd left, but
Yeah.
you definitely heard tell of it. The last, you know that the High Chieftain when you were a child was called Ergma, but you're too young to really know anything about it. Was it Odavs you were raised by?
I was raised by Godinja.
Oh, we
Quite
haven't even met
northernly.
Godinja yet. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
I'll just say that I don't understand how chieftains are really chosen. I'm not sure that many people do, even amongst the clans. Just seems to be, I don't know, a decision is made by certain people, certain groups that are influential. I think even it's hard to tell. But if some group is bringing a lot of force to bear, it's conceivable they could bring about a change. Or I don't know. It's a worry.
Politics is politics. And it seems strange that we are, in a slightly lowered voice, having our own issues in schisms among the church, and the Northerners are having something similar with with whatever this new witch is.
Isn't that the nature of politics? Just people
Yeah,
with power fighting to keep their power or to take their power from others, or
yeah, but such big strokes, all organized, all at the same time. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old, and events seem to happen all at once when you're my age. But I don't know. And remember, we have been warned of something worse in the north.
If you're curious, Sam, you know that High Chieftain Tharaban is of Clan Yadisa, whose lands are to the south of the Godinja.
Okay.
You others don't know this, but Ascarai is actually from quite a bit further north. The Yadisa's lands are, they're to the south of the Godinja, but also on the fringes of Davakar to the west. So, yeah.
I hope we don't encounter this group, whatever it is, and I don't know if it's an army, but certainly if we do, expect them to be very hostile towards all of us. We're Ambrians. Even to other clans, they're very, well, they can be very hostile. To us, I'd imagine they would try to kill us on sight. But hopefully we won't run into them.
I mean,
it'd certainly be unusual for them to be this far south.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, we're not planning on going further north than Carvosti, are we?
Did we hear that there was something happening at the Sun Temple before? When we went to the Tomb of Dying Dreams, did we hear that there was trouble at the kind of Sun Temple that's, I think...
Yes, and that was the first of the rumors that have connected and led to this, by my understanding.
Yeah,
so it's all been gradually escalating.
Yeah, when you bumped into the Ranger, right, which is where you heard of this witch in the north. You didn't get specific details about it, I don't think, but yeah, it was just some sense of like the trouble had even extended to the plateau at Carvosti, essentially, because the Sun Temple. The Sun Temple is further to the west than Carvosti, but it's sort of that essentially that further to the west. Sorry.
It's not like a million miles away from where we are now.
No, it's not at all. No. But still, to find roaming, groups of Gawia and Sarkhan this far south would be almost unheard of. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure the road to Kalvosi will be kept safe, but just we should be aware, as we always should be in Davokar.
No such thing as safe in Davokar, Ascarai. No such thing as safe.
Unusual to hear such pessimism from Steo. But there we have it. You spend a calm and quiet night in the camp and wake in the morning. A couple of travelers seem to be heading out and kind of waving their goodbyes to people as they ride off on horses. Otherwise, the camp is just sort of like starting to cook again, waking up for another day. Arrow and his merchant caravan don't seem to be going anywhere just yet. Are we sort of packing up to leave today? Is that the idea?
I'm going to drop one more father on a nice breakfast if there's one ready for us.
Yep, there absolutely is. This is rabbit rather than deer, but plenty of it, and some good vegetables as well.
Do you just want to point out if it's 2 Ortegs a bowl, then it should only be a shilling a time, not a thaler?
Yeah, I thought that's really good money.
Yeah. Call it 2. You've lost 2 shillings on it then, Chris.
Oh, hang on. I've got this the wrong way around then, because I thought the thaler or the shilling was the lowest denominator.
Orteg is the lowest. Orteg,
okay. Wonder how much that has screwed my accounts over these last few years. Anyway.
I'd assume that you just deliberately paid some like exorbitant amount for 5 meals
to make
in
friends.
order to make friends.
I like to think, Chris, that is also what Steo thought, and he has only just been corrected at this point in time.
Yeah, do you know what? That's fine, and I'll amend my accounts according to the big loss rather than the small loss, because honestly, we've done okay.
Doing all right.
I like to think
8 years old when he learned how money works.
I like to think it's because, like most other times where he's had to pay for something, it's usually been in a pub from a barman explaining currency to him intentionally incorrectly.
Yeah, sure. Either way, you have another solid breakfast, and are we kind of gathering up and setting out?
Yeah, I think so.
The herbal cures that we got from Arrow yesterday, I will suggest, or I'll put the idea out there, like, does it make sense for Theo to carry all of the herbal cures, or should we spread them around a bit in the event that Theo falls down a crevasse?
I've got my own stock. You spread the gifted ones out.
As you're kind of packing up to leave, Ganderald keeps kind of throwing glances over at Arrow and just kind of leans in and says, "How much rope do we have?"
That is a good question.
I certainly have rope
more,
but it depends how high your cliff is, and we don't really know that, do we?
Well, yes, this Vale Cliff has been troubling me. I'd not really thought much of it, and then I told you about it, and you seemed a little appalled at the notion, and perhaps we need more rope?
I brought a standard package of field equipment, which I believe comes with 30 feet as standard.
Yeah, they all have like that much, yeah.
Let me go and see if they have any good hemp stuff.
You go over and Arrow kind of looks around a little bit and then says in really a normal volume of voice, Sergeant Steo, I believe, of the heroes of the sinkhole. A blessing, truly a blessing.
There's going to be a price I can pay that will be able to take that away from me now. But nonetheless, we're looking for some good quality rope. Decent stuff.
Oh, I have the very best. Only the very best for the heroes. One moment, please. And he turns around as if to go get it and then clicks a guard and they kind of roll their eyes and scrabble in. Quick for the hero of the sinkhole. What am I paying you for? There we. Oh, good man. He sort of turns around and holds up what is admittedly looks to be extremely high quality rope. And he says, "This Sergeant Steo, this is what they term masonry rope. and the very finest hemp weavers of Indaros have created this for building the huge, huge architectural feats they have there. More than good enough for guiding yourself down some dangerous dungeon in the depths of the forest, yes?
Let's take a look at it and give it a bit of a once-over. Kind of trying to make out that I'm a rope expert, but maybe not doing a very good job of it. There was something else I wanted to throw in as well, but I'll. So, did you know Arrow? Is it?
It is, yes.
I was
to have my name known by, oh my word.
My goodness, you're laying it on thick. Anyway, I was never a sergeant. You might want to keep that as a little fun bit of information.
Yeah, you were.
How much is this?
You were, weren't you? I thought you were a sergeant in the city guard.
I don't think I was a sergeant. I was never so out of character. I was never. I don't think I was ever ranked to that degree.
I think I've
maybe
called
not
you
a sergeant
multiple times.
You got promoted mid-campaign, unofficially.
Okay.
Officially.
Oh, did I? Oh,
Yeah.
damn it. Well, look, I'm still going to give him the information, even if it's slightly wrong, just to kind of make the world a little more interesting place. But I'll return to Hagley and go, okay, what's the damage on this then? This is good enough for what we need.
Well, then, I have a proposal, Sergeant. Sorry.
Steo's fine.
Steo, first name terms. So, I have this fine rope here that I could sell you for a modest sum of 6 shillings. That is, it's a lot for rope, but it is very good rope. So it's kind of on the higher end, but not unbelievable. And he says, but I have another item that may entice you, and I will give you both for twice 6 shillings. A mere thaler and 2 shillings. And I think you'll be pleased with this. He reaches in and kind of unclasps a large chest that clearly he doesn't trust the guards to deal with. Opens it up, and you can see a number of kind of quite expensive-looking things in there. Maybe a little bit of armor, a little sort of some trinkets and jewelry. And he reaches into the bottom where, oh yes, oh heavy, which I suppose is the purpose. And he turns around, beaming with a large, very fine-looking wrought iron grappling hook.
Ooh.
Now, the grappling hook, you're fairly sure, Steo, is worth a thaler by itself.
It's not. Oh, that's very nice. I'm a big fan of a grappling hook. It's not cursed or anything, is it? You wouldn't sell me.
Oh, no. This item has no mysticism or magic associated with it, Steo. It is purely functional, again, from the finest craftsmen of Indaros.
I will take you up on that thaler for this good piece of craftsmanship.
And 2 shillings.
Of course. I'll hand over the thaler and 2 shillings.
Delighted to be of service. Delighted to be of service, Theo. And as I said to our mutual friend, Sir Arindar, please do come see me in my shop in Thistlehold for further special discounts.
May we all get back to Thistlehold in one piece. Thank you.
Yep, you have, it's probably about 50 feet of extremely good, strong rope and a grappling hook, which can be tied to it very easily. There are few better things for scaling up or down sheer surfaces than what you have. Maybe a very, very long rope ladder, but that's not really practical to be able to carry.
Walk back, somewhat proud of myself. Like, that is good thinking all around. And we have some decent masonry rope.
Looks good.
Prios, that does look like strong stuff.
It's going to be better than tying our short runs together anyway.
Grappling hook. Well, that cliff won't be any problem, will it?
Like proper adventurous. Incidentally, I'm going to take 2 of the herbal cures, give 2 to Ascarai and 2 to Aaron. We got 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did indeed.
I'll probably
Okay.
pass like 5 shillings to Steer since he's bought stuff for us.
Oh, thank you.
Lovely. Lovely. What a group effort. So let's move on. I am enjoying the little trading camp scenes, but I had intended to be here for about 10 minutes. It's been wonderful. But let us move back to the trail, maybe moving more to the north, setting off again with, again, an extra point of toughness for everyone for the sleep overnight. And back on the trail, as you travel to the north, you pass another caravan of people going sort of to the south who give you a kind of cautious nod, look like Ambrian traders once again. And only a few hours later, as you carry on your relatively slow pace to the north, because you don't have anything to ride on, Gandrold and Ascarai round a corner, or passes for a corner on the trail in the forest ahead, and Gandrold goes, "Oh, there, rocks, large rocks, and that one. Don't you think? Don't you think it looks a bit like a dog?"
That's where it tilts his head. Yeah, I suppose.
That might be them. That might be them, Ascarai.
Okay.
And if that's the case, we need to leave the road at this point and travel east for around an hour. And apparently we'll strike the Vale with some confidence.
Okay, sounds good. We've made good time. So,
and I think we are but maybe 3 days from Carvosti.
Okay, that's very nice. If all goes well, we can head to Carvosti and maybe do some trading of our own, depending on what we find.
I shall show you the sights as promised. Fellows, here, the rocks.
Okay.
Right.
No more trail for us, so let's do our best.
To the east. Come on, boys. He kind of grabs the donkeys, sort of leads and gingerly leads them off into the underbrush.
Who's letting the paymaster go first? Ascarai, come on, Alindra, let's go.
Okay. I'll move up to the front.
Yeah.
You travel through fairly dense undergrowth, even for this, this south in Davokar. The going is usually all right, even just off the trail, but it seems particularly dense here, denser than any other you've encountered in your travels so far to the north. And about an hour later, Gandalf has seemingly led you absolutely right. Ahead of you in the earth is a deep vale. It seems to be elliptical in shape. At its widest, a couple of 1,000 paces from long side to long side, but grows narrower to the northwest and southeast like a squinting cat's eye. The cliffs, for the most part, plunge steeply and are between 50 and 100 paces high, but the narrower the vale is, the lower and less steep are the walls. If you go to those extremities of the vale to the northeast and the south, the northwest and the southeast, getting down at those places would be relatively easy, but then you would definitely have to move through what seems to be a dense forest at the base of the vale for at least a whole day's walk. Up here on the cliff edge, you could maybe make it in half a day to one of the sides, but it looks very dense down there. Because we're at the end of winter, most of the colossal trees that are down there are sort of reaching up to the pale clouded sky overhead, like skeletal fingers reaching out towards the light. And among them, not too far from where you stand on the cliff's edge, which is the highest point, incidentally, at more or less the widest point of the vale, you can see almost shrouded in those skeletal branches and boughs, stone, large amounts of high-reaching stone, perhaps a tower or a keep of some kind. Could everyone roll cunning, please?
Yep.
Ascarai got it. Elindra got it. Yeah. Everyone but Arindar realizes that one of the reasons this might not be a particularly well-known or well-traveled site is because you are pretty damn sure that when it's not winter, you would not see those ruins because they would be entirely shrouded behind the greenery. And most trips to go hunting for treasure in Davokar don't happen in winter because you'd have to be mad to go looking in winter in Davokar.
It's
So that might
nearly
be your
spring.
reason. That might be your reason why this location was unbeknownst to anyone but this Ranfalt.
So just to get the picture correct, where we're standing is by the kind of widest point.
Yep.
Sort of in the middle, essentially.
Mhm.
It's probably the longest direct vertical way down at this point,
Yeah.
but it would take us pretty much to the base of the tower, which we assume is the thing that we're looking for.
You're spot on.
Right. Or there are longer but much slower routes that
Yeah.
might be easier.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the base of the Vale down there in it looks very dense. Looks like it's a hard travel. Like it would be very easy to get down at the edges, but a hard travel inwards towards these ruins there.
Okay. Can we get some kind of estimate of how far it looks down to the floor of the Vale from here?
About 100 paces. 100 feet, right? Actually, no, a pace is longer than a foot, isn't it? A pace is more like, I think traditionally, because let me get this right. I only found this out a couple of days ago, which is why it's quite fresh in my mind. A pace, because a foot is a step, right? That's why it's called a foot. A pace is 2 steps.
Okay.
So when you're counting paces, you go 1.
So 100 steps is about 200 feet.
200 feet.
And the rope we have, the rope we have is 50 feet.
That rope is, but you all have another 30 feet of rope, right?
Okay.
So that's 5 by 30. So that's
150. So we've got.
So exactly.
And I didn't calculate that in my head beforehand, so that's worked out quite nicely. So if you hadn't bought that rope, this edge would not be an option.
So we're talking about tying all of the ropes together to make one big rope, and hoping that holds.
This is wwhy I bought the good rope, to avoid doing this. But sure, at least it gets us halfway down.
I think halfway down is nowhere at all. I don't want to be halfway down a cliff. I want to be all the way down the cliff safely.
You have about enough rope to reach the bottom, because we have about 200 feet of rope between you.
My question is, how likely are we to need a rope to explore this ruin?
It's possible. I mean,
look,
I think
that's a problem for the bottom of the cliff.
It's all an option. Like, I'm definitely not railroading you down this. I know what's everywhere in this Vale. So if you want to fuck off to one of the edges and take an easy way down and travel through the Vale, please. They definitely look like easy ways down. As I say, it looks like quite tangled forest down below through to the ruins.
So first off, Gandalf, that the expanse of the space down there looks like a team of 10's work for a year. So you know we're going to get just a glimpse of this place, yeah?
I will look around as I can. I never said that we had to comprehensively turn over these ruins. As you say, there's not enough of us.
It's
as long as I get to have a look. Let's focus at the ruins. I mean, that seems the obvious part, yes?
I'm still for going down the cliff. I don't fancy that forest.
I don't want to spend a couple of days here if it's possible not to. So I think I'm leaning towards the cliff as well.
What do we do about the donkeys?
Leave them here.
Need to stay here.
Graze.
Are you worried about the donkeys, or are you worried about things the donkeys may be carrying?
Well, I mean, the things that the donkeys may be carrying, we can take with us. I suppose I'm worried about the donkeys and about anything that we may need that we then leave on the donkeys.
I
We
don't
can-
see a way of getting the donkeys down either way,
We're
right?
not
Like
taking
we're
the
not.
donkeys down.
We can tie them up here with loose enough. There's plenty of vegetation for them to feed on, and if we can lower down the packs.
The only question is whether or not we think that somebody else is going to wander off the path or in from some other part of the forest, and it doesn't seem likely.
Or
I
if
mean-
a band of roving meerkats or wolves come across them.
I am not spending a day constructing earthworks to protect the donkeys. They knew what they signed up for.
The donkeys will be fine. What can we do for them? Is it really that much safer down there than it is up here? We have no idea what we're going to find.
You
That's
clearly have an affinity for beasts, Sir Arundar, but I assure you they will be as safe up here as they are down there.
well, if you say so, then I see no reason against the cliff face.
If
Wild
you were,
donkeys travel through Davokar all the time. That is where these were caught and tamed.
can I suggest that if you are worried about their safety with regards to the local wildlife, on a practical basis, it may also be difficult to get Ferrin down the cliff. So perhaps Ferrin can serve as some form of guard. Would that set your mind at rest?
I would, in that case, be slightly more worried about Ferrin being the problem, but that could work.
You could definitely leave Ferrin here. You've reached the point with Ferrin where you can give him rudimentary orders like stay, and he'll stay.
No, eat donkey.
Yes. I would also say Ferrin is, he's a largish animal, but definitely light enough that you could try and get him to grip onto your back on your way down. Or whatever.
Yeah, I think I have abseiled down things with him before.
Yeah.
You need to
We don't need to worry too much about the animal logistics of this, or indeed perhaps spend more time than we already have done on it.
I think, what about if we don't travel to the end of the Vale, but just to where the cliff maybe allows us to save one rope? I mean, if we start going down this cliff and find that we're 30 feet from the end, we'd be in trouble. Maybe it's hard to estimate from here, perhaps.
Yeah, do we get some sense of how the ground at the top and the bottom kind of go relative to each other? Like, how far would we have to walk from this point to have the cliff be like 30 feet shorter than it is now?
I mean, I love that you think I have that answer, but I think like all the distances I've given you the thing for are just your visual estimates.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it may be up or down from various places.
Cool.
And yeah, I think it's perfectly reasonable that you might be able to reach the bottom of this cliff and be able to untie one of the ropes, even if it is just a case of you untie the bottom rope and then you scramble down the last 30 feet.
Elindra's going to make a big show of sizing up the cliff and squinting and like really having a good estimate, and eventually is going to turn to the others with some confidence and say, I think we can go down here and still have a spare rope.
Well, you know what, Stephen? Why don't you
Yeah.
actually have Elindra roll vigilant for that?
Oh, I was just going to lie, but sure, okay.
Sure, yeah. But if you want to, there is actually an option.
I failed the vigilant roll.
Fair enough.
Assuming it's unmodified, I needed 10 and I got 11.
It is. It's both modified and unmodified,
All
but no, because no one up until now has said I'm going to find the easiest point near here to go down, and Elindra was the first to try and failed. So
I failed. So yeah, I'm just gonna and I'll roll for lying if you want, but like essentially,
no.
I'm gonna in the interests of moving down the cliff, which seems to be the best way to go, I'm gonna tell people whatever they want to hear.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I trust Elindra.
Yeah.
Sure.
You shouldn't.
So I'm assuming that we are tying these ropes together, securing the grappling hook somewhere opportune at the top, perhaps embedded amongst rocks or even into a tree of some kind. or around a very, very sturdy branch, and kind of lowering that rope and just trying to eyeball whether it's at the bottom or not?
Yep.
Okay. I don't think we need to roll to tie the ropes together in any way. That's a fairly straightforward activity. Why don't we all give me a vigilant roll to try and see if we can perceive, because there is obviously winter struck vegetation and trees directly below you as well. So it's like trying to see whether it's reaching the bottom. Even Ascarai did not succeed on a vigilant roll. Good Lord.
Nope. Come on, Aaron.
I failed as well, so we are.
Yeah.
Aaron Dar!
It's my dump stat, and I passed.
You know what, Aaron Dar? The very bottom rope has a number of what would you call them? Knots tied into it on the way down, right? It's like a how would you call that? Like a knotted rope. I don't know. I guess
Special climbing rope.
Yeah. For the purposes of of climbing, indeed. And you, Aaron Dar, rather smartly count how many of those knots pass the top of a tree, and kind of roughly estimate the height of the tree. You think that rope has hit the Vale floor with some feet to spare.
You were right, Alindra. Makes it
good eye.
perfectly.
I've always been quite good at estimating distances.
So, who's going down first? I will note that climbing frequently is easier if a character has acrobatics.
I will volunteer.
From your
Be
youth.
the strongest at the top to hold it in case it caves here, and
It's a very good
hope
idea.
that I can bounce on the other side if worse comes to worse.
Cool. I'll plant my feet and just try to take up the slack in case something gives. I mean, if it gives below, which then
Absolutely.
I do my best to look sturdy for Aaron's benefit.
Sure.
I'm completely convinced.
Well, Arindar, that youth ill-spent climbing along rooftops in Indaros has paid off. You gingerly step over the edge of the Vale cliff and make your way down quite handily. Just hand over hand, foot over foot. Before you know it, you're surrounded by grey and white spiked branches that threaten to kind of poke unpleasantly at the pack on your back and your clothes, but you manage to shrug them aside, moving down the cliff face. At points, it can almost be scrambled down. At other points, it's just basically a sheer drop that you are effectively abseiling down. You find yourself at coming to rest on a pile of leaves that have desiccated and fallen apart to the point where they're basically just their spines and their branches off them that crunch and fall apart unpleasantly under your feet. And the rope indeed extends for another 10 feet along the Vale floor. Now, what are the
Wonderful.
chances they can hear you at the top?
I will try and give my loudest whistle.
Sure. Why don't we have a vigilant roll at -3 from the 3 people at the top?
Ooh, pass.
Askarine Alindra, you hear Arindar whistling down below.
Sounds like he made it.
That's his death whistle.
That's the signal that means run for your lives.
Yeah.
I will look around and see if anybody else appears to be volunteering to go next, and we'll go next if nobody else wants to step forward.
Go ahead, Alindra. Good luck.
I mean, if it holds my weight, it will hold anybody's. So,
Absolutely. Elindra, you do not have acrobatics, unless I'm mistaken.
I do not.
Could you make, please, 5 quick rolls
Ooh.
at +5?
Oh, okay. So my quick is 13. So that's a target of 18.
Mhm.
8 pass. 8 pass. 4 pass. 12 pass. 15.
We make it. You definitely find the going a bit harder than Arendar, probably due to your size and the large bastard sword strapped to your back. But nevertheless, after a couple of slightly worrying bounces on the cliff face, you find yourself nestled down in that pile of dead leaves, standing near Arendar.
Cool. I will try and give a tug on the rope, see if that gives some indication at the top.
Sure. I think it's probably you probably don't feel the tug, Asker and Steo, but you probably see further down, like the rope, like whipping around a little. You can interpret that how you will, I suppose.
Like, we've no guarantee that they're not both dead. You know that. It could be some kind of whistle beast down there or something feasting on their bones and toying with the rope. But it's what we're paid for.
Well, I suppose I should go in the middle. 2 protectors up here, 2 protectors below.
Very true. Be careful, Gandalf.
Oh, I've scaled worse. Ganderald walks over. I'm just going to actually check if he has anything to indicate that he has or not. Because I'll be fascinated if he's got like acrobatics or something. I'm just going to double check. He definitely doesn't have acrobatics. And his quick scout, I don't know. He basically scrambles down much the same way that Alindra did. A couple of sways, a couple of knocks, but still sort of reaches the bottom. He kind of drops down among the leaves alongside Arendar and Alindra and says, "Well, my arms are burning, but I'm here."
Well done.
Well done.
He also kind of gives a bit of a tug to the rope.
While Lindra and then Ganderald have been climbing down, could I'm John is aware that this might not functionally do anything if someone falls from the top of the cliff. But Aaron has been helpfully pulling like any large stray like bundles of leaves or leafy branches or anything that could very slightly soften the fall.
I will say that the desiccated leaves will serve absolutely zero purpose in doing that. They essentially crumble to dust as soon as you touch them. We are at the end of winter, so how they haven't fallen apart already, you don't know.
Fair enough.
Can
in that
we?
Case, Aaron has muddy hands.
Elindra might spend some time trying with the sword to kind of hack at some of the pointier branches near the rope and see if it's essentially the opposite. Instead of putting soft things in the way, just try to get the pointy things out.
I would say like these trees are very large. I think that the pointy branches that are providing the problem are probably beyond even the stretch of your arm and your blade.
It's a job for a tree surgeon.
It's like the top, it's where you hit the canopy. It's problematic.
Cool.
Well, you may as well go down there, Askrai. I'll go last. I'm the one most likely to break the rope. And look, wiggle the rope when you're down to let me know you're safe. Also, get them to move away from it because I won't be landing as softly as yous.
All right, if you're sure, be careful. And, I'll see you down there.
Okay.
That you can be certain.
We need 5 quick rolls, please, Askrai, because you don't have acrobatics, I don't think, do you?
No.
5 quick rolls at +5, please.
My quick is 10, so I need 15. An 8. A 4. A 5. A 12.
Good rolls tonight.
And a 3.
Whew. There we go. Fairly uneventful descent for Askrai, who arrives down amongst the leaves and the skeletal trees with the others. Steo, it's all on you to make this a completely smooth descent.
I will.
What's your quick?
My quick is 10, so this is not a bad idea.
It's not bad. Take it we're wiggling the rope, Ascarai.
Yeah, I'll fulfill Steel's request. Wiggle the rope, but tell people to stand back. But actually, I won't tell people to stand back. We'll try and catch his fall rather than just let him die. I think for better or worse.
I will. Before I go, I will whisper a little prayer to the lines of, "Well, Zenatha, maybe I will meet you again soon," and then I will proceed down the rope.
Sure.
Here we go. I failed the first one.
Brilliant. Wonderful. There we go. Can you give me a D6 roll, please?
That's a 5.
That is a 5. Let me just double check the rules here. I have the rules page listed out for falling damage.
200 meters.
Oh no. He only falls 5 meters before he can. He doesn't just drop off. It's just basically that he's scrambling unpleasantly downwards.
I assume those rolls were at points down the rope, so that failing the first one was the worst.
No.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Could you give me now? Here's a question, because I always ask this when we have unusual. Oh no, it says here you do use armor for damage from falling. Which doesn't make any sense to me, but there we go. It's them's the rules. Could you give me an armor roll, please, Chris?
Yes, if I can remember the numbers, which despite playing this game now for I think approaching 3 years, I still have to double check my armor protection. Okay, 3.
Okay. In that case, Steo, you find yourself losing your grip almost immediately. You scatter down the scree at the top of the cliff edge. You manage to re-grasp sort of the rope, but you feel like what was the actual wound you suffered to the Watcher? Were you like impaled or something, right?
Yeah, I was almost gored in twain.
Yeah. Basically, you come to a rest and sort of you've got rope burn on your hands, and you feel jolted, and also you feel a kind of like hot, slick wetness leaking slightly from your side where the tusk sank in. Take 2 points of toughness, please. And then give me another quick roll at +5.
There we go. Another 18.
See what Chris is doing? He just wants to change character. So he's just written 18 on his phone and just keeps holding it up.
If you want me to re-roll, I will gladly
No.
re-roll.
I definitely don't. Could you give me another D6 roll, please?
That's a 2.
That's a 2. And then an armor roll, please.
8.
8. Okay. Yeah. So this time, the same thing happens again once you go down another sort of 20 feet or so, but you manage to maintain a bit of control and just slam unpleasantly into the cliff wall, but you don't feel like you've taken any damage. It's only your dignity that's been hurt this time. All of you below, you know what? I'd say you can only really dimly see Steo through the twisted branches overhead, but you definitely get the impression he's not having a very good descent.
Also, there's probably a shower of screams.
Yeah,
and
right.
chunks.
Like little stones and pebbles pouring down. Why don't you give me another quick roll at +5, please, Theo?
Here it is before I roll it, and it's a 12. It's a success. So 2 more, I think. That was the third one.
No, yeah. Stephen's popped the rules for falling. Yeah, I've got the rules for falling here, but this is also a specific scenario in the story, so it's slightly different. Sorry, did you say you passed that one, Steo?
Yes, and then directly afterwards, I rolled a 20.
You rolled a 20. Okay, with the roll of a 20, I'm actually going to say that what happens is the sort of worse result from the story. I'm going to say that what happens is as you reach the canopy top, Chris, Steo loses his grip almost entirely and tumbles down half on the rope and half off, knocking your head against outstretched branches, knocking your body against the stone of the cliff face until you come to rest unpleasantly in a pile of dead leaves near your friends at the bottom. Can you roll a d10, please?
3.
And then roll armor.
1.
Okay. you feel bruised in your ego and your body, but you are also concerned that slick wetness underneath your that you felt underneath your like clothes, like under the leathers you wear or linens you wear under your clothes. You can look down and see it, around like the edge of where your plate is meeting, that there is a small rivulet of blood running down. You have definitely reopened the wound from the Watcher, so take another 2 toughness, please. But you are now all down.
Hello, everyone.
Stio?
Are you okay?
No, but thanks for asking. I'm gonna need a minute here. Start stripping off my armor to try and tend these wounds, which
You're gonna medicus yourself. Yeah, you can definitely do another one today.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh god.
What happened? That seemed to go very poorly.
It's a 200-foot cliff. I am nearly 70 years old. Of course it went poorly.
How are you alive?
I ask myself that every morning, Alindra.
No, that's not true. Stio asks, why is he alive every morning?
That's a 20 on the medicus.
You know what? Given the amount of bad rolls here, I am literally, and I rarely do this, I'm going to ask you to roll another D3 for me.
I mean, yeah, that looks bad in principle, but that's obviously 2.
That's a 2.
It's a D6.
Yeah, when you get that armor off, you have definitely reopened that wound. Just take another 2 toughness straight up. And honestly, it takes all your skill with Medicus to just stop it from worsening. You maybe should not have done that. And by that, I mean come down that cliff face.
Oh. Well, I'll be going a bit slowly.
What time of day is it?
I believe I said it was a couple of hours after you set off. So, it's just before, maybe we're talking 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, still
I've got some questions about whether you're going to be able to come at all, Stio, and how we're going to get you out of here.
Oh, it'll be fine. It's we got it trussed up in a couple of days before. Just let me bind it, and I'll walk it off. Just
if you need.
Just none of the normal things we encounter in Davokar today, okay?
You'll walk off the goring that you experienced the day before
Alindra.
yesterday.
I will, just like I walked it off the day before yesterday. If we remember, walking it off is fine. Cliffing it off, less so.
You're either a machine or a madman, Stio, and I can't decide which.
Just for my own nerdy sense of consistency, it's definitely a bit more than the day before yesterday. It's about 3 days ago now, I think.
Okay.
So I think we recovered 3 toughness.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. But the point remains, it's not long ago enough.
Evidently.
Ever. So there we go.
Stio, do we need to consider alternate forms of healing? Perhaps?
No, we do
Necromancy.
No.
Homeopathy.
It's a little early for that.
I mean, in a way, homeopathy. Mysterious.
Necromancy or worse, homeopathy.
We are not cracking open the good stuff for the sake of an old battle wound. Now, come on, let's keep things in perspective. Just no further disasters.
Still, you
hire a steel for flatlands and rank fighting. You do not hire a steel for vertical operations. Go find yourself a stack of elves.
You always worry about Davokar. This is the kind of situation where things go poorly in Davokar. When you're already in trouble, when you're already wounded. I think we should take some time to rest here and maybe carry on tomorrow. I know it's early, but you need a day of rest here.
I think we should get the job done. The sooner we're out and back, at least on the path, the better. I'll be fine. Worst case now. Here, look, Alindra, I'll hand you over the small bottle of
Water of the dusk.
water of the dusk, which I believe has. I don't think had we. I think there was. How much? Does anyone remember the number we decided on to fill it up with?
Well, there were. I think you had 5 doses in there, right? And
Yeah, so we've
Anton
already
took
used.
the other 5.
I think we've already used 2 of those doses, so there's 3 left.
Yeah, I think we used 2 on you, right?
So there may be only 2 left because didn't we use it on someone else?
I don't think so. I agree that I think at the end of last session we used 2 doses. I thought they were both on you, but it's possible that I think they were both on you because didn't you roll 1 at first or something?
Oh yeah. No, fair enough.
But
so there's 3 doses.
There's 3
left.
doses left. Yeah.
Okay. You want me to pour this down you if you collapse?
No, ideally, I want you to leave me for dead and keep that until there's something we need to use it on. Lest we forget that stuff does numbers on corruption.
This doesn't work the way that you think it works, Theo, but fine.
None of you have ever been in the military unit before, and it shows.
But
Yeah, they won't
Templar.
be leaving you for dead. Yeah.
this isn't a military unit. We, apart from anything else, Theo, surely we need the numbers. Right? Having a wounded or dead man is going to...
Right.
I know I'm not the experienced one here, but if Steo is making this sacrifice so that we can make haste, perhaps we should make haste?
If you collapse, Theo, yes, of course we'll leave you for dead. Of course we'll do that. Now let's go and explore.
Good. Let's make a start.
Okay. I'm assuming we're striking out into the Vale in the rough direction of where we saw the tall structure.
Yep.
I'd imagine that's the idea.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, it does not take you long to start locating ruins of a Symbaric nature. The first things you reach are a row of colossal statues. In fact, a double row leading in a very straight fashion ahead to where you can see about maybe 500 meters ahead of you, further large stone structures. And wonderfully, we have a picture, which John has access to and will pop up. So there we are. I'm choosing to declare that figure in front is Ascarai with a mask. Maybe the figure behind is Ganderald or Arindar. But either way, there you go. Those skeletal twisted trees reaching high up into the overcast winter sky, and a very rough and disheveled trail leading between these 2 rows of huge statues, leading you further into the Vale. You can see off amongst the trees that the underbrush and the undergrowth is very thick and difficult to make your way through. But here, between these rows of statues, not so much. An old road, an old path, perhaps, and ahead of you, as you strike out further, there is a large structure. A wall, in fact, a wall of blue sheened stone that rears really quite high overhead, 30 feet or so. The lower branches of the trees arc over it. They've grown in as time has gone on. Inside, you can see a number of structures, including what seems to be that tower or keep, rearing up into the sky. But the good news is there are large, old, partly desiccated wood and iron gates on this wall, and they are both completely open.
It's been looted, do you reckon?
I don't know.
Gates
hope
swung
it's been
aside
looted.
in time. Maybe their hinges are gone.
You said 2 other people at least know of this place, and both
Don't
of
know
which
if
have
they
been
made it
large.
this far. As far as I know, maybe he just saw the tower in the distance, but maybe.
Can I see anything through the gates?
You can see what appears to be another even larger statue, partially shrouded by trees that have sprung up. On the inside of the walls, it does seem that some of the undergrowth and trees are still in bloom.
Yeah, that's Symbaroum, all right. Do you recognize any of these statues, Ganderald? This is definitely not some country manse for a lady of science. This is ornamental.
This is nobility. I don't recognize any of the statues, I'm afraid. No. Gods, kings.
Trouble.
So you had a list of elven settlements that these sites might match the description of.
Not this one. This was a separate one sold to.
Okay.
Sold to him.
This is not one of the possibly elvish leads. This is just.
Well, he hopes it will be, but it is kind of a wild card that he's just brought people to.
But he's got no frame of reference for what.
Not
this
really.
Is. There was nothing he was expecting, or okay.
Afraid not.
Trees still in bloom at this time of year can't be natural.
Yep.
Either there's powerful old magic here, or someone is here now, or recently.
Perhaps it's the same reason that the Vale itself is so overgrown. I know Davakar is difficult footing at times, but this far south, we're still in bright Davakar, lest we forget, and this Vale looks dense outside of this settlement, whatever it was. Perhaps the same thing, giving vivid life, a blooming Vale.
Well, not even in the middle of winter, at the end of winter.
Come on, we're not going to explore it by talking about it.
Onwards.
You stride forward through the gates, and quite quickly the trees sort of part ahead of you as you approach, not literally, lest we think I'm talking of mysticism, but as you move forward past the trees, that large, colossal statue ahead of you becomes more and more apparent until all of you stop, somewhat slack-jawed at the image of a huge carved representation of an all too familiar god, one with huge curved horns, a bulky hunched form, and a very familiar looking head. It is Eox.
Oh, do you know this one, Ganderald? Because I tell you we do.
We know this one personally.
Yes. The script underneath it is a name. It says Ambriargos.
Ambriargos.
Lest we forget,
Fortuit.
that is the name of the leader of the Cult of Midnight, who we encountered in Wrath of the Warden, Alaba Ambriargos. And at that unpleasant set of coincidences, I think we will wrap up the stream today. So, thank you ever so much, dear viewers, dear players, for participating in the stream with us. If you want to drop some comments and questions in the chat, we'll get to them after we do our promo. Before I launch into the promo, I think we've actually may have forgotten to mention new followers or at least I have. So I'm going to read out everyone since the last time I did it. Thank you to the follows recently from Drawn to the Flame, United, Matthew, Mr. Allen, and thank you so much for the resubscribe to Night Bites, one of our lovely loyal friends here on Twitch and Discord. So, promo, check below, links to YouTube, to Twitch. You've watched on one, please do check out the other. Links to our Discord, our Patreon, our social media. We currently run 2 weekly streams. One of them is Symbaroum on Wednesdays. The other one is slightly on hiatus, at least for a week or two, I think, which is our Monday stream. when it starts up again, that's going to be Johnny running Vason, which has been long requested by the community and indeed the crew. So we're looking forward to that one. We also run one-shots, usually once a month, but September has held 2 of them, or will hold 2 of them. One of them was last weekend, Night of the Hogmen, that will arrive on YouTube soon. And the other one is also something Johnny is GMing, which is his space-based Call of Cthulhu setting. It's a spiritual follow-up to a mini-series he did last December called The Long Silent Night, which people liked quite a lot. Go check that out on our YouTube channel. And he'll be running, like I say, a follow-up to that on Saturday, the 24th of September. So in just a week and a half's time. So please do join us for that. Right, John, what comments and questions have we got there from chat, please? Steve, got some bad news, I'm afraid. Johnny's just told me he's gone right off folk horror. It's definitely what I've expected. Johnny, notorious for his sort of, very light love for the genre.
Mercurial.
He was bound to bounce off it sooner or later.
Thing is, do you reckon he could just run something that kind of starts off innocently in the way that folk horror often does, and then just like nothing
it just
really
ends up, it just leads to a game of Toon.
Yeah, you just leave the rest of it to the player's paranoia.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's typecast.
I have definitely done a kind of inverse of that, where I've run games that weren't horror, that actually were horror, and twisted into a Call of Cthulhu partway through. That's quite fun, because people think their brains are actually breaking. So, I think he should do that. I think he should start with Call of Cthulhu, and then halfway through he switches to Tales of Equestria.
I still want to get a redeem on the channel for a number of bits that's just oops, accidentally Wonder Home, where we just put the game to one side and all just start a Wonder Home scenario.
Absolutely. Just bait people in with like something a game of Cult or something horrible and hyper violent, and it becomes
all of a sudden awesome. It's Small Mouse makes turnip soup for friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to happen eventually. There will be a game that gets derailed. My betting is that it's going to be Chris rather than Johnny that does it.
I think possibly so. Next, 42. Putting points into climb skills always pays off. It's true.
It's one of those things that when you're creating a character, you never think about it, but then when you need it, you'll kick yourself.
Or the trees will kick you, as happened to Chris.
There's no climb skill though, is there?
No, not particularly, but like acrobatics often, if you have like climbing scenarios in the books, it's often like if you have acrobatics, you can just do it.
Okay.
So it's kind of the climbing skill. Lowin, safe in Davakar. Yep, seems likely.
As I literally said that exact phrase, including the emoji, several times during the episode.
That is Chris's face.
And it's the noise I made as well.
Yeah. Steve, I have this fine rope here, but would you rather take what's in the box? Quick game of carrot in the box for the for the crew there. Rip Sean Locke. 42, like watching Homer Simpson falling down a cliff repeatedly.
Yeah, I just saw all the good rolls people were making, and I knew what was coming.
I mean, we're all thinking of the same episode, aren't we?
Yeah.
Bart jumping across the thing.
The ravine.
Yeah.
I also quite liked Steve posted this just before Steo started climbing down.
I'm impressed. No one's rolled a 20 yet. Perfect.
Thanks, Steve.
He got a bit of a pile on in chat.
The spirit of Mike washed over the group, even in his absence. I think Chris rolled a 20, and wherever he is, Mike just went, something just happened.
I feel like if we'd have had Anton with us, we wouldn't have even attempted the cliff. Like
Anton would be dead.
We may as well have just thrown him off. Like you got to walk down. There's no.
You'd lower him down first,
yeah,
tied to the end of the rope, just like
No, we'd leave him up top to look after the donkeys.
Yeah, sure. Donkey duty. I don't know why I went so Matt Berry with that, but I'm happy with it. Next, Spaced Call of Cthulhu. I'm afraid not Spaced Call of Cthulhu, although perhaps that is a crossover we could do. Space Call of Cthulhu.
That sounds amazing.
That does sound pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
That's the opposite trope again. It's
Brian paints some eldritch dream he's had, and the gang get into all sorts of scrapes.
I was going to say it starts off as a legit dark Call of Cthulhu-thon, and then just gradually becomes like a sitcom set.
I want to see the actual like characters from Spaced. Can you imagine how much of a liability like Mike would be?
Yeah,
because he's armed to the teeth, like
trying to drive a tank at Haster.
Yeah.
Next.
That's everything.
That's
I think
that's everything. That is all the things of value that anyone said tonight. So thanks for joining
better,
us, folks.
chat.
Yeah. I don't think we've arranged it as a crew, but I think we're on next week. I don't think there's any reason not to be. So we'll be back next week for more Symbaroum. We'll let you know as soon as we find out when Johnny's picking up Vason. I think there's a notion. Do you know, John? You're on the Monday crew. Is there a notion that it's not this week but the following week? Is that roughly the idea?
I can't remember what was said, and hopefully Steve might either back me up or tell me I'm wrong. I feel like there's either going to be 1 or 2 weeks off,
break, right?
And then hopefully Vason is starting.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. If anyone is curious as to what we're doing with Tuesday or Thursday nights, like our extra third stream, we'll let you know just as soon as we have any clue whatsoever. But hopefully something else is coming. And I know in particular, a lot of people really enjoyed Warhammer. So we are looking to bring that back when Sam and the crew in general have the opportunity. So yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next week. So next week will just be Symbaroum, and a week on Saturday will also be Johnny's Space Cthulhu. So we'll see you for those. Till then, take care, stay safe. See you soon.